Unique Google Street View images that tell an incredible story. Google Street View is a great tool to use to see the layout of a city without ever having to leave the comfort of your home. Because the Google Street View cars that take photos of the street for the site are so colorful and easy to spot, many people go out of their way to pose for the camera, or even make sure important life moments are captured on the site forever. And sometimes, mysterious moments are accidentally captured by the camera, leading to internet sleuths attempting to track down who's in the photos, to some pretty interesting results. These are some of the most interesting finds on the Map app that were found by eagle-eyed virtual travelers. This cyclist in Victoria, Australia did what anyone passing by a Google Street View car would do: pose for the camera. Of course, they couldn't hop off their vehicle for the spur-of-the-moment chance, so they did their best dab for the photograph, which was captured in several different locations all along this street. No, this isn't just a group of random people who happened to find themselves in front of a Google Street View car. This is a group of Google employees from their offices in London who knew that the car was planning to make a trip past their location. So, they organized a flash mob and got on their craziest hats for the occasion. It's always fun to see Google Street View camera cars meet, and this is exactly what you should be on the lookout for if you'd like to end up on the site's maps someday. The cars are covered in map graphics and have a huge camera extending from the top of the car, so they're pretty hard to miss if you're looking out for them. This beautiful wedding march was photographed in Kyoto, Japan, and it shows the bride and groom with their families walking behind them during their wedding ceremony. The location of the photo was near the Shamogamo Jinja Shrine, which is one of the oldest Shinto shrines in Japan, dating back to the 6th century. Every time the Google Street View van visits the exact same road in Belfast, Northern Ireland, it happens upon a white van in the exact same location. But one year, the van wasn't in its usual spot, but it was still close by, driving down the street right next to Google's car. In this photo, a group of cyclists in Poland were affected by a glitch that somehow removed their bodies from their feet. The mysterious illusion totally looks like a couple of people abandoned their shoes, and the man on the right, who doesn't have any feet, is definitely eyeing them. Okay, so Diagon Alley from the Harry Potter series isn't actually reality, but fans of the magic can visit the Diagon Alley that was used to film the movies at Warner Brothers Studios location in London on Google Street View. This location is also available for fans to visit in person should they ever find themselves in England. When you really have to hurry to get where you're going, sometimes it may feel like the rest of your body has to catch up to your legs. Maybe that's what happened to these two people in Anchorage, Alaska, who were caught without their bodies while walking next to the Alaska Center for the Performing Arts. It's unknown why, but there were a lot of Google Street View cars in Monterey, California in March of 2012, and this is what happened to get a great shot of all of the other ones parked in the lot. They may have been working in the area too, but as of yet, no one else has found any photos of this many Google Street View cars parked together in the app. Cherry blossoms are very popular in Japan, and when they are in bloom, the whole country practically turns pink thanks to the delicate petals. This particular cherry blossom tree is found in Maruyama Park in Kyoto, Japan, where it is often lit up to showcase its spectacular color and impressive size. If this baseball field looks familiar to you, that's because it is the very field where the film Field of Dreams was filmed in the 80s. The Kevin Costner film was shot in Dyersville, Iowa, and some baseball scenes were shot in a neighboring farm. No wonder why it's got its name. Black Canyon Freeway is pretty dark at night, especially if there aren't many cars driving on it at the moment. This freeway passes through Arizona, where this photo was taken, and it's located in some very flat desert, which is why it is so pitch black at night. Don't be scared, this obviously isn't a real seaweed monster come to attack the Google Street View car, but this man has a pretty impressive commitment to being unusual. This photo was taken at Mission Beach in San Diego, and by the looks of it, this surfer ran right from the water to the road to be in this hilarious photo. This kitty was photographed in Tver Oblast in Russia while it was doing its business in the front yard. The little cat looks as cute as ever, and its owners were probably surprised to see it immortalized online forever. This cat didn't even know that it had to be camera ready while taking its morning stroll. When this guy saw the Google car, he immediately went into rock star mode, grabbing the nearest shovel and doing a mean air guitar like he was suddenly overtaken by the spirit of Slash. It's not only possible to visit the streets of the world on Google, you can also take a look at some of the places on Earth that are harder to reach, like coral reefs and other underwater paradises. This shot of a scuba diver's view was taken near Jacko Island in East Timor. When some people see a Google Street View car, they know that it's time to do something impressive for anyone who finds these photos in the future. And that's exactly what this man did when he popped a wheelie on his motorcycle just as the Google car went by, and thankfully it made it onto the site. Some of the people who take photographs to be used for Google Street View get creative with their work. Some of these photographs tell pretty interesting stories if you're willing to spend a few hours exploring the virtual world. This man used his photographs to capture a truly amazing moment out at sea, and now his engagement will be remembered forever. A glitch in the camera that makes the composite photos for Google Street View caused this New York City Ramones fan to look like they were just half of a person. That certainly ups his cool factor, but don't think that you'll find anyone really floating like this when you take a trip to the famous city. Google Street View has the power to capture things most people wouldn't see, or in this case, might not see until it's too late. Take this tiger, for instance. It's loose in the parking lot of this office building. We doubt there's anyone inside who wants to walk out to their car for lunch only to end up being lunch for this beast. Is it just us, or did Google just make everyone a witness to murder? Based on the image alone, it appears that the archer on the far left is moments away from shooting an arrow into its neighbor's heart. Yikes! Most people use a bike attachment to take their kids along for a ride, but this rider has a penguin for a passenger. Then again, it's not the only weird thing about this photograph. The rider appears to be riding a unicycle with a big wheel and no handlebars. An artist by the name of Ben Kinsley timed it perfectly so that a vignette he choreographed in the form of a parade coincided with the Google Street View vehicle way back in 2008, and the cameras captured the marching band right on time. If the people at the bus stop in Nagoro, Japan are looking a little inhuman, it's probably because they're not human at all. They're actually a bunch of rag dolls made by Tsukimi Ayano. The reason behind this inspiration was to replace the neighbors who had either passed away or moved away. Forget about zombies, this is a full-on scarecrow invasion. Or is it? Actually, they're called the Silent People, and the person behind these 1,000 scarecrows in a Finnish field is none other than an artist named Raijo Kila. If this bear looks annoyed, then he probably is. See, he was in the middle of having a nice fish meal in Kurile Lake in Russia when a drone suddenly hovered overhead and started taking photos of him. This looks like a promotional image still for an upcoming horror thriller, but it's actually just a bunch of people in Mexico who decided to don a couple of creepy costumes. But they weren't heading to a Halloween party. They dressed up so they would get captured by the Google Street car. Google Street cars have captured all sorts of people doing things that make people do a double take. One of these images includes one of this man who is sitting on top of a mailbox taking a smoke break in the middle of Manhattan. When the Google Street car drove past this commercial district, it caught sight of a baby who appeared to be making a break for it, and yet the mother was nowhere to be seen as it crawled around on the sidewalk. Go on Google Street View and you'll find all sorts of things, including some images that are absolutely adorable. Take this dog, for instance. He was looking up at the camera as if he had just been caught doing something bad. In reality, he was simply munching on bagels that had been discarded on the side of the road. Right outside the Salon Gallery in Santa Cruz, California, were two women who, for some reason, were pranking someone by wrapping their car in saran wrap. Too bad we'll never know how the car owner reacted when they saw this. According to Geek, A Vienna-based art collection known as Gelatin, formerly known as Gelatin, placed an enormous pink bunny named Hayes outside of this farmhouse on a hill in Italy's Piedmont area. It wasn't a prank, but rather one of the collective's many out-of-the-box art projects. Take a good look at this image and pay close attention to the trash can in the alley. Notice something unusual? There's a kid crouched behind the trash, attempting to hide. Was he simply playing hide-and-go-seek with a group of friends or siblings, or was he hiding from his parents after doing something bad? The world may never know. Something strange is happening in the neighborhood of Sampsonia Way in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. According to this picture, one scientist appears to be testing a laser from his open-car garage, while two other scientists outside seem to rejoice with wicked joy at just how well their invention works. It might look like scientists created horrible pigeon-human hybrids and then released them on the unsuspecting population. But the people walking on the sidewalk are actually Japanese art students from Musashino Art University who wanted to play a joke on the Google Street View car. A bunch of people in Holland decided to throw caution and their clothes to the wind and relax in a small inflatable pool outside of a building. And the Google Street View car caught the particular moment when they were chillaxing with a couple of beers. To the untrained eye, this might look like a murder in progress, but it's actually just two guys who staged a crime scene in Edinburgh, Scotland. Unfortunately for them, it caught the attention of local authorities, who were not laughing at the prank. Where else would one expect to find a horse in his bathrobe other than Victoria, British Columbia, Canada? Well, actually, it's just a human sitting casually on the side of the street eating a banana while wearing a horse mask and a robe. It looks like something one would expect to see in a horror movie about ghosts with all of those special, spectral figures against the window of this house. But in reality, they're just Halloween decorations that someone kept up in their Chicago home. The Google Street View car captures all sorts of things, including this amazing sight of three elderly men riding around town on their Segways. While some folks would rather relax in front of their television in their golden years, these friends aren't ready to slow down anytime soon. It's not uncommon to find people caught walking their dogs outside by Google Street View car, but this man was caught taking his cockatoo out for a walk in Portland. Now that's not exactly something people see every day. This shirtless Russian saw a bear in his property and probably thought, "Not today, Yogi," so he took a bat and started running after it. The ironic part is that bears are usually intimidating, but this one was running away in terror at the crazy human who was chasing him. There's a story in this photo, obviously. Why else would this woman be rolling a suitcase in New Mexico on the outskirts of the city in Roswell? And she's wearing heels, no less. It's safe to assume that her car probably broke down and she's trying to make it to the nearest town to get some help. Most snow enthusiasts head to the icy slopes to ski, but this person was in Mont Blanc, an area bordering Italy and France that clearly had no snow, so he decided to ski on a slope full of luscious green grass, and Google Street View caught him in the act. Intrepid Potash is a fertilizer manufacturer based in Denver, Colorado, that is also the largest producer of potassium chloride. To produce their chemical products, they use evaporation ponds, which appear a bright blue color due to the presence of copper sulfate, which is added to the water to speed up evaporation processes. If you squint your eyes, you might just be able to see the famous Coca-Cola logo hidden in the sand. This logo is said to be made up of 70,000 empty Coke bottles. The logo was found in the country of Chile, and no one is quite sure who put it there in the first place. There's also some incredible wildlife to be seen from Google Earth, as this picture of a group of wild elephants shows. This family of animals are running close together to keep safe and was photographed by a satellite in the country of Chad. This satellite image caused a stir after an ex-CIA analyst told Wired that he had found buildings and structures in the desert near Kashgar, which is located in Xinjiang province in China. These structures were previously not known about by intelligence officials. Some viewers of this image believe this structure to be a pyramid that was excavated in Egypt. Many strange structures have recently been found in Egypt using modern technology like satellite images, but there isn't enough funding to excavate them in person. The stark contrast of the clear blue water of the swimming pool next to the murky dark water it is directly next to is what makes this satellite image so shocking. This huge pool can be found in Berlin, Germany, and its size is absolutely massive. This is a photograph of the SS Jassim, a cargo ferry in Bolivia that sank in the Wintage Reef off the coast of Sudan in 2003. The ship, which is 81 meters long or 265 feet, is now considered one of the largest shipwrecks visible on Google Earth. There's quite a few pieces of advertising visible from Google Earth, which is a concept known as mapvertising. This picture of KFC's famous logo is actually 87,500 square feet long and appears just off the extraterrestrial highway in Nevada. On Volcano Island in Lake Tal on the Philippine island of Luzon is this beautiful natural phenomenon. The small island rests inside a crater lake and was thought to be the largest of its kind until satellite viewers found the phenomenon appear again in Canada. People believe that these ancient wheel structures may date back 8,500 years. They were found in the country of Jordan, and they mysteriously align with the position of the sunrise in the winter solstice. A team of scientists have been studying these wheels with the help of Google Earth and ran into some questions when they realized that some of the wheels don't have the same number of spokes. Beneath the water of this photo taken in Pearl Harbor, which is located off the coast of Oahu, Hawaii, the USS Arizona battleship is clearly visible. This is the only one of 4 ships that were sunk in the attack in 1941 that was not later raised from the water. So, a memorial was placed above it in remembrance of the event. This structure in France is a pentagonal citadel in the city of Lille. It was built in the 1600s and it is the headquarters for a section of the French government. Parts of this structure have been classified as historic monuments in 1914, 1921, and 1934. This small island off the east coast of the United States has just one road leading to it. The bridge has a gate leading onto the island, and on the island is one house that overlooks a shipping lane in Penobscot Bay. It would be the perfect place to just watch boats go by and get away from the world. When the man who took a screenshot of this satellite image from Google Earth first saw this site, he thought it might be an archaeological excavation site. But it is actually pits left behind from an old-fashioned salt extraction operation, even though it resembles colorful pebbles or an abstract painting. Many movies portray oases in the middle of deserts as mirages that soon disappear, but this green patch of land in the middle of the desert is very real. All of the lines leading to and from the oasis are tracks that are made by cars, people, and animals. It's easy to forget that meteors have fallen to Earth on multiple occasions, and many people don't realize that they leave massive craters that are visible from space. This crater has a raised rim around the edges and has created space for a lake in its center. According to Google Earth's sleuths, this group of well-planned buildings popped up in around 2013, but there are currently no markings left by vehicles, which means that no one travels to or from this site, making it completely uninhabited. Other detectives found out that the site was a housing project. This photo was taken in Asamaka, Niger, a landlocked country located in Africa after a sandstorm. The tips of the buildings pictured are completely covered in sand, and it's easy to see the prevailing wind direction in this satellite shot. There is documentation of a crew of U.S. sailors wrecking in the northwestern shore of Africa in 1815, but this photo, which is a satellite image from 2019, shows a much more modern vessel off the coast of South Africa. The ship, which is most likely made of metal, is still well preserved, although it's been off the coast for more than a few years. If this photo looks eerily blue to you, that's because the ground of this shot, taken on August 30th, 2005, is covered with water after the devastation of the Category 5 hurricane that ravaged the south of the United States. Over $125 billion in damage was caused by the hurricane. No one's sure what this is, but it looks like someone may be in the process of dragging a victim's body to the edge of the dock in the middle of nowhere. So, for a while, Google Earth made us believe we had just witnessed a horrible act. But as it turns out, it was nothing but a wet dog who had gone swimming in the pier. At a glance, it looks like a cave carving of an indigenous man wearing a headdress, but it's actually a landscape in Walsh, Alberta in Canada. What happened was that over time the valley eroded, forming this interesting design, and that thing that looks like headphones is actually a road. It may not be the Bermuda Triangle, but this giant triangle in Whitman, Arizona is just as weird and mysterious. The triangle is actually an Air Force base named Luke Ox 4, which has been abandoned for years. It might seem like a bunch of techie aliens carved the Firefox logo into a field in Dayton, Oregon, but aliens have better things to do. Humans, on the other hand, do not. This crop circle was reportedly made by a bunch of students of Oregon State University, none of whom were aliens as far as we know. A guitar-shaped forest containing thousands of eucalyptus and cypress trees was reportedly made in memory of the lost love of farmer Pedro Martin Ureta in Pampa region of Argentina. There's a mysterious swirling pattern in the sand in the desert at Red Sea Governorate in Egypt. This mysterious shape looks like a mix of tiny domes and indented circles. But was it man-made or was it created by a cloaked UFO? Perhaps we'll never know. It might seem like a landmass with trees to the untrained eye, but it's actually the SS Airfield, which remains shipwrecked in Homebush Bay in Sydney, Australia. And yes, those trees are growing out of the wreckage. No one would ever even suspect that this building in Coronado, California is shaped like a symbol that has been used by a hateful social group. But from up above, that's exactly what it looks like. Then again, maybe it's just an architectural oversight and nothing malicious is happening in there. Maybe it's a series of roads in the middle of the desert in China. It's hard to tell from above, but judging from the image, it's just a random series of luminescent line patterns in the sand. Usually, the only side we get to see of a car from a bird's eye view is the top, but here's a strange shot of a car that's actually just lying on its side. How this happened is unknown, but it doesn't appear to have been the result of an accident. Yeah, so there's this Lion King, or rather, the shape of an oversized lion on the ground in the United Kingdom, particularly in the town of Dunstable in England. It's so lifelike, we can almost hear it roar. It looks like an intricate network of strings, but what we're seeing are several oil fields in Rio Negro, Argentina. And judging from the looks of it, the impressive network is vast and covers a lot of acres. Unusual symbols in the Nevada desert tend to appear everywhere, like this 6-point star surrounded by a circle. And there seems to be a series of hatches, which might indicate that this is where missiles are launched from. Mattel has been responsible for the creation of many popular children's toys over the years, most notably Barbie dolls. So it's not surprising that they designed this Mattel logo to be visible from high in the sky in El Segundo, California. From high above, this building looks like a giant you-know-what, but believe it or not, it's actually a church. The designer of the Christian Science Church in Dixon, Illinois, never intended to make the building look like a phallus. It just sort of came out that way. Ever seen a rainbow plane? Well, here it is. We're not really sure what caused this photo's effect, but it's likely that the speed of the aircraft, along with the sun reflecting off of its hull, caused this rainbow effect as it passed over Cathy Terrace, Englewood's Cliffs in New Jersey. This shipwreck is just one of many in Basra, Iraq. These ship remnants are from the Iraq-Iranian War, and there are still a couple of damaged ships lying on their sides on the Shatt al-Arab waters. These lips aren't part of any natural rock formation. The combination of red and yellow sand along with the sun reflecting off of the sand created some sort of large lips mirage on the desert of Nyala, Sudan. Anyone feeling a little lonely or depressed might take comfort in this Jesus loves you image. This divine message is located at the Boise National Forest in Boise, Idaho, and undoubtedly lifted the spirit of a lot of faithful followers. Right at the heart of the Nevada desert is yet another targeting symbol, only this one isn't just a triangle. This mysterious image contains a bullseye right in the middle of this perfectly symmetrical triangle. The world's largest pool on the planet was snapped from high above. It's located at the San Alfonso del Mar Resort in Valparaiso, Chile, and is said to be about 3,000 feet long and 115 feet deep. This Turkish flag was carved into a giant mountain in Kyrenia, Cyprus, and it's so enormous that the half-moon crescent and star on the side can be seen from space. Now that's what we call pride for the flag. Somewhere deep in the Nevada desert is an enormous bullseye target like the one a soldier sees on a targeting scope right before they fire a missile or a hand weapon. This was likely a testing site for aerial bombing. Columbia Station, Ohio is sharing the love with this heart-shaped lake that's surrounded by a garden, some tress, and a road. Sadly, the property doesn't appear to be a public venue, so good luck taking a dip in this lake of love. High above the skies of Tucson, Arizona is a graveyard, but not the kind that has decaying dead bodies in it. Davis-Monthan Air Force Base is actually the final resting place for a lot of government and military aircrafts. This photo was taken Avocat, the Great Rift Valley in Tanzania. The volcano itself is tall enough to have its own microclimate above the land surrounding it, which is why it has much more green vegetation growing than the area around it. This beautiful volcano seen from above is located on the Kamchatka Peninsula in Russia. Notice how the land spreads out evenly, creating similarly sized cones along the edges of the large landmass. This marina is located near Milwaukee, Wisconsin. You can easily see how ice has formed where boats are typically meant to dock, creating an incredible pattern that doesn't appear in warmer climates. This lighthouse is off the shore of one of the Great Lakes in the United States. Notice how the waves form a circular pattern around the structure and flow out into the ocean around it. This structure helps sailors navigate their way in the water at night without crashing. This satellite shot showcases the tidal channels underneath the water of the Wadden Sea in Denmark. You can see the differences in elevation of the shore and land beneath it, creating this effect that is absolutely mind-boggling.